Welcome back to PJ Chen Design. This is PJ. Today I would like to show you this famous Eiffel Tower and how do you turn it into the 3D model. Let's also talk about the B setting from the bottom to the top to make this Eiffel Tower pendant with the Rhino 3D software. Are you ready? Let's get started. Before we started, we need to make sure that what size of a stone that we are using. My size of the tower is about 30 millimeter, and this stone is in between 1.2 to 1.4 millimeter. On the top is a bit bigger. All right, but you always need to know what kind of a stone that you have before you start in building the tower or doing your design. So that's starting from the scratch. I'm just going to draw a guideline right here, starting with the polyline and snapping into the 0. And I want to type it 30 millimeters, so at least I know like how tall this piece is going to be. Also, I want to decide how big and how small for the bottom of the pendant. So I'm going to draw roughly a square. It's going to snapping into the center for whatever how big you want. For the top, so the top might be smaller, something like that. Also depends on the size of a stone you're going to set, right? So that would be the top. The second thing is I want to draw another square right in the middle on the bottom to see how big you want it to be on the bottom. And after that, we wanted to draw the profile of the tower. So I simply just going to draw a straight line, and this straight line is going to snapping in the midpoint right here. So make sure that midpoint is on your alt snap, and we're snapping right there. Coming into the front view, I want this guy to go straight down and kind of a little bit flare it out and end up somewhere in the midpoint too at the bottom. And double make sure that this is the curve you want. If this is the curve that you think it's kind of the profile that you want for the tower, and we are going to mirror it to the other side, so then we will have a structure like this. In order to get the shape, we are going to use the command for sweep to rail. This is your rail 1, this is a rail 2. It goes from here to here, and we will get something look like this. All right, double make sure this is the shape that you want. If that is, click OK. And this is only the polished surface. We need to turn them into the solid. So I'm going to use the command for cap, C-A-P, and then we can close both top and the bottom. Now it is solid. Coming back to the bottom, I'm going to create a cylinder, and with this cylinder to cut out the bottom. So let's go ahead to use a cylinder command and snapping in the midpoint and kind of moving up something like this. And that is where the opening you wanted to cut it open. So that's temporary, put it right there. We also need to know the size of a stone that we are going to use. So let's call in a stone first. You can download the stone at the description below. There will be a link for you to download. Once you download it, then you will have stone to use. The stone is gonna coming into 5 millimeter, and then you can scale down any size you want. To scale your stone, just need to using the 3D scale command, and you want to snapping into the vertex to the vertex and just typing the number of the size of the stone that you want. So that's it. I'm going to have 1.3 millimeter right there. I need to make sure that I have enough space on both sides. Look like I could have this cylinder just a little bit bigger, and that also reduce the weight as well. I'm also going to draw an arc. This arc is going to starting from the 0 and coming over to where the stone might be stay, and we are going to draw the arc right there. This is the line the stone is going to follow. If it is too much over here, like too close to the edge, we do actually want to scale it down to make sure that this is like close to the middle of the stone, something like this. And I actually want to move my stone to the right side a little bit. All right, so it look all right for the proportion and everything. So I'm going to make the cylinder a bit longer and also have this cylinder aligned to the center. Just type it 0, and also making a copy by using the gumball and hit the Alt key. Alright, so then I'll have something like this. We can go ahead to use the Boolean difference and having this one difference out from the two of the cylinder right there. So then we can cut the bottom open. Now we have the bottom open, we have the stone right there. We need to make some layering. So I'm going to use the box tool. Again, I want to make a box, and for whatever thickness, that's okay because we can change that. And I wanted to have the first layer just a little bit above the stone. So if I have a stone right there, this one will work, and I'm just going to 3D scale it down. You can make it thicker if you want to and set another stone there if you want to, but I just want to have a divider. And I do not want a Boolean union first because I may need to cut it later. Let's arrange this stone first. I'm going to bring my stone close to the surface and tilt it into the angle for the surface. So let me move a stone close to the surface and double make sure it is in the right place. We need to have a curve to follow. So using this curve, we are going to use a project command, and we want to project it to this surface. When we project on it, you're going to see it's project everything behind it. So I'm going to explode this guy and pick up the curve that we want, or deselect the curve that we want, and then we want to delete the rest of it. I'm going to have this curve right here and just wanted to turn it into the red color. This is easier for you to see. In order to flow correctly, I'm going to draw a line close to where is the center of the stone, and we are going to do something like this. And I also want to take a look closely on the front view and try to move it to where I think the center of the stone is, because this is now is tilted. So we kind of need to guess where the center is, and I'm going to trim the extra right there. For a better flow, the key is you wanted the center of the object at the beginning, like the endpoint of the curve. So let's go ahead to use the transform. You have a ray along the curve, and I want to pick up this object right here, and the base point of my curve is going to be here, and you're going to see one at the beginning, one at the end. Right? And then we can kind of need to decide how many we needed. So I'm going to try 12. And ideally, you want to have like 0.1 millimeter to 0.2 the max millimeter in between the stone. If we have 13, which is going to be super close, but it might look better, and I have one right in the middle. Okay, so it's up to you. In this case, you want a 13 or 12. You could record a history. And then once you hit enter, if you feel like you need to coming out a little bit more, you can do something like that to make sure that this is right in the center for where the orientation is. Okay, so now we have one over there. Double make sure they all align correctly. If they do, let's go ahead to creating the B for them. So let me go ahead to just draw something like this on my right view and simply just pipe it into the B. So you can decide whatever size that you wanted. Ideally, I would like to have a shear prong, so they need to be big enough to hold on both of them. So I'm going to moving this guy to here and simply just make them size big enough, and take a look on this is going to be right here as well. And then so I'm going to kind of copy them into the correct places and double make sure that will work fine and thick enough to cover both of it. Let's move the prong back to the place. They need to kind of sit in a little bit. They don't need to be that long, and so there will be something like this. Right, we have the bottom two need to come out a little bit more, so I'm going to drag them out, something look like this, and maybe tilt it a little bit for those bottom two. For those two right here, I also need to tilt it them a little bit so they will sit right with the table and something like this. All right, double make sure that they are actually touching on both sides. So you're just gonna move them down and coming up like that. Okay, so the first prong is quite important because that will affect it to the rest of the prong. We're going to use the command for transform array along curve, and with this one I'm going to pick up this prong and this prong, and I'm going to hit on this curve right there. All right, as you can see, they may be off some of them, and so we can do the adjustment later on. If you like it, just hit enter, and then we're just gonna come back to look if every prong is in the right place. Most of the time, the very last two may not be, just because they are at the corner, so I kind of need to move the prong to the right place. Sometimes, if it is off too much on the right side or toward to the end, you can delete a bunch of them and just mirror to the other side. All right, I'm going to pick up all the stone first and just use the group command to group them. And I'm also going to pick up all the prong, not a stone, not a curve, and make sure just have the prong and group it together. It's just much easier later on to adjust them. And once I have it, they are in the right place. I'm going to use the polar array command and snapping into the 0. I want them to be 4 in 360 degree. So then we have the bottom done. Now we are going to moving this guy close to the bottom but not touching the prong. So that way we'll have it in the right position, right? This is just a little bit like separating in between layer. So we can have something like that. All right. You may see this is some area right there. You can fill in another stone right here if you want to, but let's work on the top first. Now I have this curve right here and this curve right here. We need to cut the middle open, right? So again, I'm going to bring in one stone, and for this stone, I'm going to put it into the right place, and so that way I will know like how big of the space I will need to leave there. So I'm going to move it close to the surface and make sure it's in the right angle and have the girdle sitting on the surface, something like that. So this is where be the stone coming out. We need to have a little bit to the edge right there. So that will be a good indication. So I'm going to have this curve right here. We're simply just going to offset this curve and close to the center of the stone. So I'm kind of guessing it's going to be 0.8 millimeter and see if that is close to the center. It looks like it is. And we can use this one, so that it will be 1. I'm gonna have that one to offset one more time. So this will be the second curve. With this curve, I'm simply going to mirror to the center, from the center mirror to the other side, and then we'll have this one to trim each other. So we don't need this cross right there. On the bottom right here, we might also need to trim it where the stones stay. So I'm going to draw a line and moving this line really close to where the center of the stone, the same like what we did for the other. So this is the line it's going to trim, this line right there. All right, so let me turn this line into the green color so you know what I'm talking about. Once we have this green color, this green need to be stay on the surface. So I'm going to project it to this surface right there. As you can see on the perspective view, we're gonna have something like this. And we don't actually need all the way to the top. Let me explode it, this guy, deselect the one that we want and just delete them. All right, so now you have this curve that you can flow the stone on it. So let me move the stone out just a little bit. All right, so once we have the stone in place, I actually want to cut the middle open. So I'm going to use this one, bring into inside of the plate, pick up all the curve that we have, and then we want to trim it, the bottom one, and also on the side. So now you have this curve, just go ahead to join them. If we extruded this curve straight, then we'll get something like this. This is going to be the cutting object that we can cut this tower middle part open. So we're going to use the gumbo, and we just want to make a rotation 90 degree with the copy equal yes. All right, let's go ahead to use the Boolean difference. The tower is going to be different from this shape and this shape. All right, so now we have something like this. We need to have another layer. It's gonna going up somewhere here, and it's going to be something a little bit smaller but similar thickness like this. And we are not going to Boolean it yet because I don't know how the stone is going to fit in there, right? So I need to have my stone in place. Then let's do array. So we're gonna array a long curve. So this guy is going to follow this curve. all right, and that is like a too big of a gap there. So I am going to change in the number to more curve, a small stone. I say 15 of them, and you're gonna have a big prong there if we got 15. So let's try 17 of them, and that's close enough. All right, now if we hit enter, we're also going to know that this is actually the good place, so we don't need anything above. All the stone on the top we could delete it. All right, so that will be the stone there. The same thing we are going to do with the prong. It's coming into the side view. I'm just going to draw a small prong first, or you can borrow the one from the bottom, and draw us a little line using the pipe command and creating one bead there. And again, we don't need the beads so fat. All right, double make sure that it's a good size of the bead. Bring up a little bit. In this case, we want to cover both sides of the prong of the stone, and we'll get something like this. All right, I also need another one on the bottom because it's the corner, gonna move it out a little bit. This one gonna moving in a little bit. All right, so now that's our arrangement. We're gonna do the same thing with this one. Let's moving all of them close to the stone first, and those two right here, this one and this one, need to be tilted. Bring it down, something like this. We also need to have this one and this one need to be tilted and bring it down as well. All right, so now we have this. Take a look on the perspective. Look like they need to be moving up a little bit, and make sure the first one is in the right place. It will save you a lot of time to adjust once it flows there. So this one look like you need to bring down and something like this. All right, if that worked for you, let's give a try. Transform array along the curve. We want to pick up the object, hit enter. We want to pick up the curve, hit enter. Then we'll have the prong arranged there. All right, notice that it's cutting into the plate that we want. That's why we don't want to Boolean union the plate there. And we can first of all clean up the things on the top and zooming a little bit, and actually want to bring the plate up a little bit, so that way that isn't cutting into the prong. All right, again, I want to pick up all the stone first, going to pick up all of them. And with this one, I want to group them, and then I want to pick up all the prong there without a stone, and I want to group them. All right, so first of all, let's pick up a stone and the prong, and we just want to mirror to the other side. And if that look all right to you, and what we wanted to do is pick up the other side right here. Coming into my top view, we want to use the polar array, and we wanted to snapping into the 0 full side for 360 degree. Then we'll have something like this. All right, the very last part is we need a line right in the middle. So I'm just gonna hide the green one and just draw a straight line, and which actually I have the straight line right in the middle. I just need to have that to project it to this surface. All right, again, this is the surface that line on the surface or curve on the surface that we have. We can explode everything, deselect the one we want, and delete the rest of them. All right, so this curve right here, let me turn them into the green color, and that will be the line that we wanted to use. Bringing another stone right here, I'm going to again tilt the stone to fitting into the surface, moving into the first position. And this one, since we only have a few of them, so I'm just gonna manually to control it. I wanted to scale this up and make sure it's right in the center by using the array, by using the align center command. So now we align to the vertical center, type it 0 there, and then that will be the first one. Make sure that it is sitting right and in the right angle. Something look like this. All right, so if that is looking good to you, we're going to just manually to copy this one. So I'm going to move one up and scale it down a little bit. And once again, if you already have a stone in mind for whatever size, you want to follow the true size of a stone. I'm just going to visually to assess what the stone that I need, and later on find a stone to fitting into the design. But most of the time you wanted to have a stone ready. And I will have a last one right here and move it down like this. Okay, so that look okay. And we also need another one right on the top, and you can scale it down a little bit. You may not want to change the thickness, but just wanted to move it smaller, something like that. All right, so make sure that once you move it, the stone may not be in the right place, so you want to make sure that you move it down. If it needs to be tilted into the right place, something look like this. Double make sure it's the right gap there. All right, so this one might need to be a little bit smaller. Okay, again, we're gonna do the prong, so I'm going to fast forward here because it's pretty much the same process. And while you are doing that, the prong side might be changed too. It depends on what you are working on. In this case, I have a stone is a bit bigger, so the prong might need to be bigger. I'm also going to just arrange on the one side. And you also want to adjust on the side view. All right, so I do feel like I need a little bit space for my prong, so I'm going to coming over here on my perspective view, using the gumball to pick up this surface and just have them extrude it a little bit longer. So then I have that extra space for my prong, and I can bring this one coming back here and moving my prong to the right place. All right, once you like your prong and every position is right, we're going to pick up all of this and we're just going to mirror to the other side. And if you like everything, let's go ahead to pick up everybody. And again, we are gonna coming into the top view and we're going to do the polar array, snapping into the center for 4 of them, and we'll get something like this. Final things that we wanted to do is adding a jump ring on the top. So we're gonna use the torus and do something like this. Depends on the size of the jump ring that you want. We can have something like this. All right, so now this is the tower, and again, you can fill in another stone right there. And don't forget to fill it all the edges. This is the one that I done previously, and I also add the full plate on the bottom so my stone won't get hit. That will protecting the stone too. If you'd like to know more about the stone setting, I have a perfect class for you where I teach all different type of stone setting for your jewelry CAD design. From something simple as a round one to the fancy cut like princess cut and the pear-shaped gemstone. The course link is in the description below. Hope to see you in the course. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next.